Hey, this is the Marvelous Magpie 85, and this is a reading. Why a reading? Because I have found it. The comic. When Scott managed to end up becoming worse than he was when his, I'm gonna use a lot of TV terms, so I apologize. When his sugar and ice personality, which means that he is either really sweet or not. There's no in between. Unlike it is in there where they actually can flick back and forth pretty easily. And when he just became obsessed with being a leader. Now, my friend discovered this, and that's why I'm going to give credit where credit's due here. And she was just so upset. And when I read, I had a different interpretation. That's why this is being called a theory rather than being called the be-all and end-all of... Because this is actually something that's up to interpretation. And I'll end up telling you why when we get to the scene. For now, you're going to get a lot of context. And I will make sure every time it comes to a major scene where it's necessary, I will tell you exactly what you need to know. What you should know to understand this. So here we go. Hanging out together. Hank's right up there. He's less beastly in this arc in order to, he was supposed to work on this guy's son. Or, I think it's son. Because I didn't actually read that story. Because my friend found it. I'm skipping to here. But I do know he became dumbed down because of it. Every time he uses his strength. It's a really sad thing. But, so, let's continue. I found it. Note, I do not know remotely how to edit videos. So you will have to deal with some loading issues. Stan Lee presents Casualties. Minutes ago, the giant airship belonging to the mutant Apocalypse spun out of control over Manhattan. Apocalypse escaped, but X-Factor managed to down the ship in the Hudson River. They emerged and discovered a crowd of reporters and the police. Halt, X-Factor! I arrest you for the crimes against the city of New York. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. What do you mean, arrest us? Don't you know we stopped Apocalypse, knocked his ship out of the sky, saved the city? By the way, this is a huge scale thing, but you can't tell who's talking. That was kind of dumb. All we have is your word for that. Why should we believe you? Hey Beast, chill out, pal. Good guys don't bash cops, as much as this narrow-minded jerk is asking for it. Why shouldn't I bash some sense into your stupid head? You really believe that waving those pitiful toys in our faces will force us to come quietly? Our mutant powers place us beyond your reach. Thunk, 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 thunk. I shouldn't do sound effects. And I have my own priorities for arrest and execution. Not what we expected, is it? So much for peaceful coexistence and a hero's welcome. Angel's right, though, Jean, about us and our powers. Arrogant mutants, thinking being born with powers makes them above the law. Rush him! Wait, Lieutenant. No point looking at like fools on camera. I've seen these guys in action. Believe me, guns won't work. Sir! The girl's doing all that, lifting all of them? Yeah, Lieutenant, I read about it. It's called telekinetics. Why is this pluralized? I love how the people don't fully know mutant powers yet. You get the, you can tell that they only cursorily read something on this subject. Listen, I heard X-Factor's speech about humans and mutants cooperating, and I officially recommend, sir, that for once we give it a try. Let's postpone this discussion, shall we, Lieutenant? Take us up, Marvel Girl. They've left the ship. Man, oh man, we're going inside. Fend the camera. Hey, yow! There's something there blocking us. We can't get in. So how come the muties could? Muties is such a weird slang. I don't get why it sounds so ridiculously, old school, but it does. So it's just not aged well. They use it in modern times too, but it just does not age well. Observe the screen, my horseman. As you see, humans cannot pass the barrier. X Factor has captured the least among my parabases, but only a mutant may enter it. That should prove frightening to the humans and divisive. And on the other screen, Famine, the youngest of my horsemen. I've given her America's breadbasket, but she has done enough for now, and it is time to call her home. Oh, Apocalypse, I was almost in trouble there at the end, but it was treacherous. The farmland withered and died, and the people, so fat and healthy, are absolute rails now. Hey, this isn't the ship, is it? Where are we? Well, in Manhattan. What caused it? Gas explosion, maybe. The ship did a lot of damage, not to mention Apocalypse's horsemen. We may have saved the city, Gene, but you sure can't tell by looking at it. Look, the lieutenant arrived. The bullet's gonna fly. The bullets are gonna fly. By the way, I am really bad with either really composed speech with words that I've only read in, and not, no, or if I'm trying to do, the weird accents and half-accent things that Marvel does. Whether you find it entertaining or not, your mileage may vary, but I'm going to hang around on bubbles and stuff like that, so you guys can at least read it if you can't understand what I'm saying. And also, I only have a few voices, so if two characters sound the same, at least you'll know who's talking if I hang around the word bubbles. Listen, Beast, just hang back when we get down there. Don't use your strength, no matter what. Hank, pal, are you listening to me? I set the ship spinning. I made it knock down those buildings. That fire, the hurt people. It's all my fault. No. Listen, Hank. The more you use your strength, the stronger you get. And the dumber. Apocalypse fixed me good, didn't he? We were fighting. He lured you to the ship's gyroscope, tricked you into smashing it. How could you know what would happen? We mutants have enormous potential for destruction. No wonder the humans hate us, fear us. They'll never accept us after this. There could be another explosion any minute. Gene, get us down there fast. Look, the mutants, X Factor. Heard them on the radio. They saved the city. They said, how do we know they didn't cause all this? I like how it's a slow filtering of this information through this whole thing. Yee! Gene, get him! Warren! Wow, maybe the old angel hasn't totally gone twisted on us after all. I gotta do something. Beast, no! Iceman, stop. Beast knows the consequences of his action. People are trapped and he can help. Should he abandon them? Gene, I know you're tired, but can you throw a telekinetic shield around the place? Another uncontained explosion might set off a chain reaction that would engulf the city. Don't baby me, Scott. I'll be okay. Alright, Cyclops, I have it. What's the point of code names when they keep switching? You know what? I like how it shows how close they are. But still, they're shouted names. I'm okay, Cyclops. I'm okay. I send ice over the fire, smother it. I'm trying, but I'd rather be fighting a horde of horsemen. It'd be an easier battle to win. Holy cow, Sucker pulled it off. That's one to tell the wife. You can thank those mutants here alive to tell her anything. Gene, I saw the fire swallow you. I thought you were dead. I'm harder to kill than that. Radio reports a building collapsing on 54th Street. People trapped inside. If anybody's interested. Thanks, Sergeant. Hey, Sarge, stop them. Where the heck are they going now? Just a guess, sir, but I'd check 54th Street. I'll clear the rubble from the entrance. The rescue team can search the lower floors while X-Factor handles the upper ones. A lot of reporters here, but where's Trish? Trish Troby? In the hospital, probably. Those smiley-faced villains from the right shop her, right? Oh yeah, I forgot. By the way, the right is actually like a organization, anti-mutant organization, not right as in right wing. Just so you know. Though I shouldn't have to state this, but this is like an old issue. And I need to make sure. She's better off forgotten, Hank. Snoopy reporter, witch. No, I want to remember. Trish's pretty, and she's smart too. She figured out what's going on. Who we really were when everyone else was fooled. And I saved her, and that's one good thing I done. At least I saved her. It's sure a mess here. We're not a pretty sight here. And we've got more reporters following us than dogs have fleas. Some impression we're probably making. Not exactly the clean-cut hero image we'd like to project. There's an old guy under there. Beast, wait, let me brace the ceiling before you shift that beam. Yeah, I hate being done. Why can't I do anything right? What you're doing now is right with me, son. Say, you fellas certainly don't look like heroes. Yes, sir. We were just discussing that. Probably don't smell like them either. Cyclops, I have a couple of others in tow. Grab her, okay? My baby! Where's my baby? Maddie, who? Sorry, ma'am. For just a minute, you looked like somebody I knew. This was right after, Maddie died. Look, Jean, I know Maddie's dead. They found her body, but it was so decomposed. And, by the way, Maddie's not actually dead, but Scott doesn't know that. Nobody knows that. All the X-Men and Fall of Mutants who sacrificed themselves, which was actually in the main X-Men thing, don't register as alive. They don't register on any sort of device and stuff like that. I'm just making sure you know for context on this. Because it's really, really, nobody seems to know these arcs, right? And I think it's because nobody wants to backtrack to 50 years, so they take the word of the people who read it might not properly remember it, and Scott ends up being treated as a cheat, especially after Emma, when, as you can tell with a lot of this, Scott is so hyper competent that it's hard to tell when he has no agency, because he's trying for hyper agency. But let's continue with reading Scott. And I keep thinking maybe it wasn't her after all. I thought you were dead twice. I married Maddie, half hoping she was you, come back to life. It was madness, but she looked so much like you. And I wanted it so much. Sorry, I keep forgetting that Scott's pretty stoic, so I should be reading it like he's got that hushed voice. But I'm not doing secondary read-throughs, because it's just, I'm going to sound scripted rather than sounding like I'm a fan reading this comic. I read it through before, but I do the once through just so you get the genuine. And that's why you're going to get so many mistakes. I hope it makes it feel real. But back to reading. Everybody's rescued, but it could take hours to get ambulances. Maybe you could ask the mutants for help? Help? What is with you, Miller? We've got orders to arrest these guys. Excuse me, Lieutenant. I couldn't help noticing the lack of ambulances, and I thought I might be able to help, only I'm not as familiar with conditions around the city as you are. Lieutenant, where should I take them? Well, Roosevelt Hospital is less swamped than some, but that does mean... That's perfect. Thank you, Lieutenant. By the way, Jean's really clever. This is a nice little bit of subtle cleverness, because it allows them to be involved too. Scott, about Maddie, did you love her? I thought so. I realized my mistake soon after we were married. I was living a lie, and it tore me apart. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't work. It affected my ability to lead the X-Men. Gee, Lieutenant Craig, weren't you going to arrest them? Shut up, Miller. But Maddie married me in good faith. She loved me. My difficulties weren't her fault. The least I could do was keep my side of that sorry bargain. We had a baby. Maddie hated my being away so much, hated my moods, my being in danger. So I quit the X-Men. We moved to Alaska. Maddie deserved whatever happiness I could give her. And then I thought that when you died, I'd lose all chance of happiness. So what did it matter? So you know the context, because Maddie was perfectly willing to handle this too. Scott summarizing it well. He told her that he was still in love with Jean, and she was willing to accept it. She was willing to accept that he might never get over his dead wife. Well, dead first love. This was a really great situation. I decided to forget Xavier's dream, if I could. Lead a human life. It might have worked. Only when they found you still alive in suspended animation when the Phoenix had hidden you. I came. I had to see you with my own eyes. And Maddie said if I left, I shouldn't come back. Then Maddie disappeared. I thought she'd left me. Who could blame her? See, this is very understandable when you read through the whole context. It's very easy to mess up the context with a summary. I went north to find her and found instead that all records of her existence have been destroyed. Sinister. And then the police found her body, but you know that part. There was no sign of our baby. He must have been killed too. I still can't accept how I'd abandoned her. I thought I'd go mad. You nearly did, Scott. We were worried. By the way, he doesn't realize that she was involved in Fall of Mutant. Maddie, you're going to see the video, and he's going to miss it. But, continuing. Things went from bad to worse here. For Angel, for all of us, I couldn't allow myself that luxury. Move it, Mutant, out of the way! What is it with you? Can't you follow simple directions? First the smiley-faced mutants attack, and Roosevelt's got most, those casualties. The smiley faces, they weren't mutants. This face is so devastated. And then the Horsemen attacked. More muties did more damage, but whatever villain set that ship to spinning around, knocking apart the city, that guy ought to be strung up. Hank. Well, upstairs, Miss Toby, you shouldn't be up. You're hurt. Not as bad as the people coming in now. TV says you don't have beds for all of them. Well, give them mine. Talk about useless. I'm taking up space and missing the story of the year. And once I had an exclusive on this, blast. There must be something I can do. Personal interview, something. Dr. McCoy? Thank you for saving me. I've been watching the news. You're a hero. Now the whole world knows. It couldn't happen to a more deserving hero? But of course you're a hero, aren't you? Look, last time we talked, you were going to give me an exclusive, right? So now you're the biggest news in town. Shows what great taste of. Dr. McCoy? Hank? What's wrong? It's my fault because I got so dumb, so blasted dumb. I smashed the ship and smashed the city. I killed all these people. Hey, what are you doing here, Toby? 3 days ago, Dr. McCoy was a brilliant scientist. Now he's like a child. What happened to him? One of Apocalypse's creatures infected him. The more he uses his strength, the stronger and dumber he gets. He's had to use his strength a lot recently. He told me, did he really cause all that destruction? No, at least not on purpose. Hank was going after Apocalypse, and Apocalypse tricked him into smashing the gyroscope. If he hadn't used Hank, Apocalypse would have set the ship spinning some other way. It was just more fun to make Hank do it. But Hank won't believe that, will you, pal? So, what are you going to do now, Toby? By the way, I like that. There's very few people who treat, dumb people, with no respect. And even, the most insensitive characters at least somewhat try. It's nice. So, continuing. Another anti-mutant editorial. You hounded one. Now you're going to hound Hank? I'm not hounding anyone. And I was never anti-mutant, only anti-X Factor. I loathe that, your mutant hunter ad campaign from the start. And I had a tip from a woman, Candy Southern, that Worthington was involved with anti-mutant terrorists. Candy, what does she have to do with it? I wanted the truth. Look, I see what you're saying. Those anti-mutant forces are just plain anti-life for everyone. They used us, destroyed one, they blew away ordinary people. They're the ones that blew you away. You want the story? When we get finished with this Save the City stuff, we'll give you the story. Look, pal, there's some trouble on 23rd Street we gotta look into. I'm going to leave you here with Trish this time, okay? We don't want you to lose my mind. Bobby, pal, I lost my mind already, and I don't see no way to get it back. What happened? Well, it already happened. Might as well do something good while still can. You see, I made this mess. No matter what it costs, I gotta try to fix it. Morning. Here comes more of them. Hand him down over here, lady. So many people hurt, dying. Scott, where next? Miss, no! She's been doing the heavy work. She hasn't slept in 3 days. Probably none of you have. You don't look too well yourself. Take her home. Go home yourself. Thanks for your help. The city has things under control. Hey, you! Goggles! That's one of my favorite things that Scott has been referred to, considering his visor doesn't even look like goggles. Looks like we've got the time now, Lieutenant. Do you still want to arrest us? No, thank heaven. New orders. Those reporters who dogged your heels have pasted your face all over the radio and TV. Orders are, you're heroes, and we're supposed to treat you like heroes. As far as I personally am concerned, you're heroes too. But you're also celebrities, and I've seen reporters when they're hot on the story. It's not a pretty sight. They'll hound you, won't give you a moment's rest. You can't go home. The ship's destroyed your X Factor complex. I suppose we could take you in protective custody. Unless, Lieutenant, you know that ship down in the river? The ship none of us can enter? How'd you guys feel about sleeping there? You just can't get a river view apartment that big in Manhattan anymore. Thank you, Sergeant. That would be... excuse me, ma'am, but seeing that you're so exhausted, I wonder if we might offer you a ride. They're heading out. Where to now? Follow them. Biggest news there yet. Hope we don't get another like it for a long time. Hey, look, it's those mutants. It's X Factor. The mutant heroes X Factor have entered a police car. Where they are going or why remains a mystery. People are flooding the streets, a river of humanity cheering the heroes of the day. Hey man, heading down 9th Avenue. That's right, outside. Come on, I want to see. I want to shake their hands. You see the things they could do? The things they did? Stopped the ship. Fought the guy inside it, too. Man, I'd have paid a nickel to see that fight. By the way, it's really interesting that Sinister did all the prep. Scott dealt with all that prep in Alaska, while Madeline was still alive and she was hanging out with the X-Men. If they had just had some little bit of conversation, he would have known she had been involved in Fall of Mutants. But here's the broadcast. The disturbance in Dallas is worsened as mutants there continue the valiant battle. And on a more personal note, Cameron Neal Conan had recorded this poignant plea. Scotty, wherever you are, I wish you all the best. Find his son. Keep him safe. Raise him well. I love you. Goodbye. So who's the Scott guy anyways? Some Dallas guy. Who cares? That's Dallas. And this is New York. And... I'm sorry, that was a terrible New York accent. And these dudes saved the Big Apple. Lady, I picked these for you. You saved my grandma from fire, and she said to say thank you. And my grandma said it's okay if I grow up to be a mutant like you. That's sweet. I thought we'd never be accepted. It's all a bit overwhelming. It's just the beginning, man. New York's going to hold its official ticker tape parade this afternoon. If I were you, I'd get in that ship fast before the reporters nab you, and pray like heck that the barrier holds. The city's lucky to have you on the job, Lieutenant. I'm just glad, man, that we were able to cooperate. I used to think it'd be nice to be accepted. How much fun it'd be to be a celebrity. But now I don't know. Apocalypse's ship might not be such a bad headquarters after all. Poor reporters. Come on, Hank, I'm beat, pal, and I bet you are too. There's gotta be beds here somewhere. Someplace. Even Apocalypse had to sleep sometime, I suppose. No, he doesn't, but I don't think Apocalypse needs to sleep, but I do think his horseman did, so there's that. All that destruction, ironic, isn't it? Maddie always worried about me getting killed. And yes, Scott stews a long time, but this is the part where it's significant. So I'm going to start reading more into, and not interrupt till after, when it gets to, the major, how these scenes are written, and I'll also tell, the alternate interpretation this could be, how they probably tried to present it. Because this is the 80s. They weren't really aware of these issues. But yeah. I survived everything, and she was the one who died. Jean, somebody told her. I don't know who or why. Mutant haters, maybe? Or evil mutants? Whoever it is, I'm going to find them, now that I've got time for my own vendettas. Maybe I can lay her ghost to rest, now that the world doesn't need me to save it anymore. Scott, the world still needs you. We need you too. Let us help you. We'll find them, whoever they are, and lay her ghost to rest together. Listen to me, Scott Summers. Phoenix is dead. Madeline's dead. You've got to accept that. And for once, surprise, I'm alive. We found each other again after all these years, and I'm not going to let anybody's ghost stand between us. Scott, Maddie's right. The way we live, we may all be dead tomorrow. Look, he was kind of struggling that last scene, and I'm going to go back to show that. He looks kind of like he's struggling. And this, she's just kind of being written as forward. She's kind of being written as General Jean, because Jean she does the to the point, now listen, mister, sort of scoldings. But that's totally the wrong approach here. So it feels really sketchy how this goes. Okay, how? So sometime later. Scott, Jean, where are you? We're in here. Not disturbing you, am I? This is hinting that they had sex. They're changing together. Jean saying, but Scott's not smiling. Scott's not smiling. He's with his first love, and he's not smiling. And and here they're just he's not getting over Maddie that easily, which makes sense. It's only been 3 days since he won. He doesn't get that she loved him. Jean kind of, it's one of those easy things where he could have just gone into it, but to try not to think about it. It's one of those things where Jean accidentally encouraged him to be driven, and that he would need her. Well, he's using her. She encouraged him to use her as a way to not have to think about Maddie. He was able to stand on his own feet a little bit while before Maddie came up. She was kind of a rebound. And she was pretty good. She was opening him up. He was defrosting when it came to his ice part of his personality. And Jean set this back several steps. Jean has made it, he was warm with the X-Men during the wedding arc. But honestly, Scott's separation became worse after this. And I'm not surprised this wasn't on purpose. I'm pretty certain, I'm totally certain this wasn't on purpose. So my friend's reaction was a little overblown, because I can see how this was written as a casual thing just to get Scott over it so you could go to the next part of the story. It's not supposed to seem like emotional abuse, but it can totally be read that way. I can't unsee it now that my friend saw it. And as we continue on, I'm just going to point out, but about this parade, the parade this afternoon. I hadn't thought of it, but we didn't have anything to wear. But now, remember that little old tailor Hank and I rescued? Well, he wasn't a tailor after all. He's a big-time designer, and this morning he had his minions hammering on the hull to bring us these. Ta-da! New costumes. Let's try them on. Soon. There they are! They're coming out! Cyclops, over here! Look! We are getting Scott in the back, behind Jean. We aren't seeing his face. He's still upset. And this is one of those things where this would be a minor incident for Jean. She wouldn't realize this bugged him. That Scott wouldn't even realize the situation bugged him. He has hyper agency. And when people with hyper agency deal with a totally shitty move, they tend to blame it on themselves for not getting cheered up, rather than going, this was the wrong time for it. This other person was stupid to try and do this. This was not cool, Jean. So, Scott probably thinks, this was the worst day of my life. And Jean couldn't even cheer me up. Rather than, Jean used this situation to get them back together, to be together as the main couple. Never mind that the comic just kind of shoved them together, and they did this totally hackneyed plot. Old Marvel was not always good Marvel. They did the hackneyed plot. They did their hand waves and stuff too. But continuing. A human honor guard. They have won the human trust. The wondrous irony of it all. This is Apocalypse speaking. This was not very good at indicating, but except with border. But you figure it out later. But Axact indeed among the strongest. For they have other strengths, my horsemen, beyond physical prowess. I am pleased, but the testing is not yet ended. X-Factor revels in their strength. They have stripped themselves of their human identities and glorified their mutant heritage, and that pride will be their undoing. My ship represents power, power which mutants by their natures will control, and which humans will soon come to envy. Power corrupts, so it shall be with X-Factor, and when these heroes are forced to turn on their human friends, it will be with their whole hearts and souls. Deja vu, huh, Scott? Cyclops? We gotta stop meeting like this. If humans and mutants can continue to meet like this, Sergeant, in trust and friendship, in cooperation and peace, then the world can only become a better place for us. See, Jean is actually kind of happy here, but she's got this kind of... even as she's got the fake smile, Scott has got this rictus smile. Poor Scott. But yeah, the end. But seriously, we don't see the image. I know it's supposed to be from a camera, but we don't see Scott happy after Jean did that. We don't see him happy being reunited with Jean. That's because Jean forced herself on him. This was Jean forcing himself on him, trying to do the buckle up those bootstraps. We've got saving the world to do. We've got keeping the X-Men together. We've got keeping X-Factor together here. And, I can see totally, completely, and utterly how this could have led to Scott's sugar and ice personality getting worse. How it could lead to Scott's utter driven necessity with Xavier's dream more so than he had before, because Xavier at least encouraged Scott to have his own life outside the X-Men. And he was doing that. He did the Maddie thing, and then he ended up separating because Maddie didn't like that, and he felt even if it was a mistake on his part. And here's his hyper agency again. Maddie was perfectly willing to handle Scott mourning a dead wife, and then she backpedaled to wasn't being very accepting of the fact that he needed to be in the X-Men. And he blames himself. So even here, he's gonna go in, he went into his work, he got this habit from Sinister being his other father figure, as well as the fact that Xavier did it too. He focused himself on being a hero from Sinister, and then he focused more on being an X-Men from this Maddie thing. This is his whole downward spiral, and it's kind of horrifying, as much as it's also like, well, this is just a theory. Alright? This is just a theory. Your mileage may vary on whether I'm making too much about this issue. But anyways, if you like this reading, please like the video. If you want more from me, subscribe. I plan to do another video today because I've been really bad about activity, and I'm sorry guys, but I've just not been sure what to talk about. So, but I have more ideas now. And this was supposed to be a Tuesday video, now it's a Wednesday one. So, anyways, that's all. Bye.